Aubrey Graham, a name that strikes fear into the hearts of sports bettors across the globe. When you receive word that Drake has placed a bet that aligns with yours, you know you can kiss that money goodbye. Or can you? Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the statistics behind Drake's betting history to determine once and for all if he is truly cursed. Now, it would be extremely difficult to track down every single bet Drake has made by myself, which is why I'm extremely lucky that there is a website called thedrakecurse.com, which has tracked all of Drake's sports bets throughout history. I suggest you check out this website for yourself if you want to look at the specifics, but for now, allow me to provide you with an overview. So, Drake has made a total of 94 bets across 10 different sports, with a total sports betting win rate of 35%. That's pretty low. However, just because you make the wrong picks doesn't mean that you won't profit in the long run due to expected value through, say, betting on underdogs. This does not apply to Drake, however, because he has a total loss of $786,000 with a negative 2.1% ROI. So while he has lost money overall, a negative 2.1% ROI isn't quite strong enough to consider him to be completely cursed, because the only reason why he's losing so much money is simply because he's betting so much money. And giving him the benefit of the doubt, a lot of that lost money is on sports like soccer, tennis, F1, which he doesn't really bet on often. So instead, let's take a look at the sport that he has the most bets on, and subsequently the highest profit margin on as well. That is the UFC. Of Drake's 94 total bets, 26 of them have been on the UFC. And when we take a look at his pick rate, you'll see that although he has a great profit margin, he's getting most of his picks wrong. The reason why he still makes money is because a lot of Drake's bets are on props like Method of Victory, which are more risky, but they tend to yield more money if they hit. Take, for example, UFC 296, where Drake bet on Leon Edwards to win by knockout against Colby Covington. Even though Edwards did beat Covington, he ended up winning by decision, not by knockout, which means that the bet doesn't hit. However, it's difficult to say that a bet like this is due to a curse, because even though he wasn't right about the Method of Victory, he still did pick the correct fighter to win. Therefore, in order to analyze whether or not Drake is actually cursing the fighters he's betting on, we need to look at how often those fighters win. To do this, we need to convert all of his bets into mainline picks. In other words, we will simply be looking at who he chooses to win regardless of Method of Victory, and considering that to be his actual pick. For example, here he bets on Israel Adesanya to KO Sean Strickland. So we'll simply convert that into Adesanya to beat Strickland, which would be an incorrect pick. On a bet like this, where he puts money down twice on the same fight with two different props, we combine them into one pick, and in this situation, with John Jones to beat Ciryl Gane, he would be correct. Finally, on parlays like this, we simply count each leg as its own pick, with Molly McCann to beat Hannah Goldie as one and Paddy Pimblett to beat Jordan Levitt as the other, both of which were correct picks. Alright, so now that I've explained how I'm calculating these picks, it's time to tell you what I've found. After converting all of the bets to mainline picks, we come out with a total of 21 mainline picks. Of those picks, 10 were correct and 11 were incorrect. Now, you may be thinking that because Drake has such a great profit margin on the UFC, he's likely betting on a lot of underdogs, right? No, not really. In fact, only 5 of the 21 picks were on underdogs, and all of his correct picks were on favorites, which means he didn't pick any underdogs correctly. Now, it is only fitting if we calculate what his total profit margin would be if he actually bet on all of these main lines. Taking his average UFC wager of $538,000, he would only win $7.9 million of his $11.3 million wagered, leaving him with a total net loss of $3.4 million. Now, whether or not you think that weighs in favor of his curse, one thing this really tells us is that Drake knows how to bet, and he understands where the expected value is, because even though he makes a lot of incorrect picks, he still wins money in the long run, at least when it comes to the UFC. But that is not the end of the story, because at the end of the day, while Drake's pockets are winning, the fighters that are being cursed are still losing, which is why it is reasonable to believe that Drake is indeed cursed. In fact, he's not only cursed in the world of sports betting, but he is also cursed in real life as well. Many would push back on this idea. After all, how could one consider such a rich and successful rapper to be cursed in his everyday life? His mansion alone is worth $6.7 million, and it seems like everything he touches turns to gold. Anyone sane would say that he has hit the jackpot in life. But it's important that to remember that there are more things in life than money. For example, baseball. During the 2025 World Series, where the Toronto Blue Jays were set to play against the Los Angeles Dodgers, citizens of Toronto were praying for Drake to stay away from the Rogers Center, the home of the Blue Jays Stadium. But unfortunately for them, Drizzy had other plans. You see, he wanted to show up to support his team, but unbeknownst to him, such an action only doomed the Blue Jays right then and there. Fans were already trembling at the thought of the Drake curse, but the deal was sealed when he decided to take to social media and begin trash-talking the Dodgers himself. He made 2 posts on his Instagram story. One is a picture of Blue Jays starting pitcher Trey Savage striking out Shohei Ohtani and walking off to the dugout while Ohtani is still mid-swing. The other is a picture of Shohei Ohtani looking sweeter than grandma's cookies, with the caption "one more," referring to the fact that at the time, the Blue Jays were up 3-2 in a 7-game series and only needed one more win to secure the World Series title. As you may guess, this did not happen. The Drake curse immediately realized itself, and the Dodgers went on to win the next 2 games in a razor-close fashion, becoming the first back-to-back World Series champions since the Yankees in the year 2000. But that's not all. The truth is, the worst curses Drake has bestowed upon human civilization have been through his various controversies. Now, it would take way too long to list everything he has done. In fact, it would probably take less time to list out what he hasn't done. Regardless, for someone who has so much going for him, it's astounding how he constantly finds himself, in the eyes of the public, in a negative light. In conclusion, Drake is much more than cursed. He's an inhuman creature sent from hell to rain chaos upon our species, all under the guise of an innocent, zesty rapper. But now you know, and his tricks won't work on you. But that's all for today. Make sure to like and subscribe for more high-quality analytical breakdowns. Goodbye for now.